All right, we're firing up the bat signal again. We're doing a Tuesday surprise episode because we have to recommend this movie. We do these little Tuesdays lately as like spotlights for movies that are not getting the love they deserve and they should be.
Right, and so, like we have to release this imminently and not wait 2 weeks till the next Friday
It's
episode.
in theaters right now.
Yes.
So we're talking about Sisu. And I think I can speak for both of us. This movie felt like a small miracle. It's an indie movie, an international original IP action film. It feels like sort of a shot heard around the world because it's such an incredible breath of fresh air.
Yeah.
On the infographic, I'm calling this the best action movie of the year.
Yeah.
And I'm saying that having seen John Wick 4, which was big and explosive, but this is this spoke to me so much more.
You know, John Wick 4 was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed it for the existing like story and everything, but I think this was a better movie.
And Sisu feels like it was made for me because it evokes so many of my very favorite movies ever made while feeling strikingly fresh.
Yeah,
so
unique.
This episode is a quick little structured endorsement. There are no big spoilers. I allude to a couple things, but it's an action movie. You kind of know what happens.
Yeah.
And these notes are just a run through of those comparison titles and works of art, and me trying to explain how Sisu plays to these strengths so well. Please go see this and support it. It is
for real
the best 90 minutes you're going to spend in a theater this year.
Are you going to lay out the premise?
No.
Well, should we? Can I?
No, you don't need to. It's a revenge action movie. Everything else you're going to get.
Well, I should also point out it's World War II.
We're going to get there.
Oh, well, that was my question.
We're going to get there.
Okay.
So let's start with how Sisu is very specifically similar to the first John Wick. Because that's already the thing we alluded to. I think that is the most overt comparison you can make here. But the similarities pretty much stop at the first movie because the first John Wick is so lean and mean and singular. It could totally have been a satisfying standalone.
Because it really expands after the second one. So.
Right. And they still feel fun, but none of them ever feel as essential as the first one because it's got this tight, focused revenge plot. And if you're enacting revenge against someone other than the person who did the thing, then it sort of loses focus a little for me.
Yeah.
And this Sisu's very similar in that the villain has a direct connection to the hero, and the story feels like once this conflict is resolved, there's really nothing left to see.
Yeah.
It's got that simple lockjaw type of conflict where you've got real evil ass villains. They're not funny, they're not sympathetic ever, they're Nazis. And
spoiler, they're Nazis.
And in the other corner, you've got a righteous, brutal, effective, silent protagonist. Another sort of notch in the John Wick belt
of course, yeah. Well, and the violence is just so like over the top and stylized and really brutal.
And that hero, that silent protagonist, gets the shit kicked out of him constantly. He's not perfect. He doesn't win every encounter. He just refuses to die. It's the resilience that makes him so endearing to the audience.
Yeah.
And he's fueled, even though he doesn't talk that much, he's fueled by this rock solid grievance. He's got this lump in your gut willpower, which relates to the title of the movie. But that was very much the feeling I got with John Wick, too.
Right.
It was that burning sort of justice that he had through the whole thing.
Yeah.
And they're also similar because they are scrappy. So they are small budget. They're new IPs, which is such a daring thing in this day and age anyway.
Right.
But there's also, like you mentioned before, an emphasis on style. And specifically because they're action movies, they have this strong focus on choreography.
Yeah.
Even more than spectacle that you have to buy.
Right.
It doesn't have those monster $1 trillion set pieces like a Marvel production would be able to afford. This is more about style and choreography and that kind of scrappy creativity. Because within the restrictions of being a small international indie action movie, not a part of franchise, you have to be smart within your restrictions. And that was the thing that so impressed me and made this movie so delightful for 90 minutes. Because you can feel the strain, the passion, the energy in every single scene here. And it's sort of the examples of this working within the scrappiness. It reminded me of John Wick because Keanu Reeves was not particularly young for the first movie. He's almost 60 now as John Wick 4 comes out. I think he just celebrated that birthday. I think
that's right, yeah.
But the lead in Sisu for this first movie, and I hope there's not a second one, it's a complete story.
Yeah.
The lead is 63.
Yeah,
doing stunts and action and just this physical performance that hurts just to watch.
Yeah, right.
And maybe this is a departure from John Wick, there are no huge names in the cast.
No.
But there are so many real characters.
Mm-hmm.
There's such an intensity that every actor is bringing to it. No one can rest on their laurels. And I'm not saying they do that in John Wick, but there's really that hunger of like proving yourself on this huge international stage that just came through in everyone's performance. It felt so original and earnest. Where John Wick, you have these huge names who bring such a magnetism to the role already. They put asses in seats. You have Keanu Reeves, Willem Dafoe, Lance Reddick, Alfie Allen, who had just come off Game of Thrones. You've got a lot of that energy kind of going for you. You've already got some momentum.
I always forget that Alfie Allen is in that first one.
He's so good.
He's
so
great.
good as the villain.
Yeah.
But you can see without any of those names like that, how Sisu feels almost like a moonshot compared to something like John Wick that almost didn't get made or sold or produced.
Mm-hmm.
And to take that further, that idea of financial scrappiness that I've tried to allude to, the John Wick budget, try to remember this for later, was between $20 and $30 million. Mm-hmm. So indie, but not
really
threadbare.
Yeah.
Another similarity, and this is sort of evolving past the John Wick comparison, is the first Deadpool.
Oh, okay.
Which you have seen.
Dig back.
It's great.
I saw it when it came out, whenever that was. I don't remember.
It's fantastic, and I've seen it a couple times, and it totally holds up.
Yeah.
And I think it follows a lot of these same rules. There are a lot of similarities between the first John Wick and the first Deadpool that explain why they work so well. And they have a similar appeal, but that budget on Deadpool, which was also indie by Marvel standards.
Sure.
That budget was $58 million. So that's
57 of that went to Ryan Reynolds.
But that's even less indie, you know?
Uh-huh.
And I would argue that compared to Deadpool, compared to even John Wick, Sisu has a much more sweeping, beautiful look than either of those movies.
Oh yeah, it looks way better than Deadpool for sure, and it's comparable to John Wick.
And visually, this is where you get to that other major influence. Visually, the best comparison for Sisu is Inglorious Basterds.
I was going to say, you've got to mention Inglorious Basterds.
Yeah. Compared...
like, not just for the killing Nazis, but for I think for what you're getting into. Like the humor of it and the look of it.
Because you're not borrowing that sort of stock industrial setting of the first Deadpool, that stock urban environment of the first John Wick. For Sisu, for this movie, we'll get to the budget at the end. That's kind of what I'm trying to hold off until later. Here you get these pretty damn fantastic historical World War II settings.
Oh, yeah.
And the set design. When I compare it to Inglorious Basterds, I don't just mean that it's about killing Nazis. Mm-hmm. It's got that perfect wry smirk, that bright yellow, tongue-in-cheek, writhingly dark era of Tarantino. Mm-hmm. I think his best movies are Inglorious and Django. And I think that era of his career has a bite that I don't think he's had since. I've loved the evolution since then, but those two movies just have an acid that makes them burn on screen. Mm-hmm. And here you get that sensibility, but you also get that look. All of those French scenes in Inglorious.
Oh, yeah.
You have that here with the landscapes and nooks of Finland where they were actually filming, where the film takes place.
Yeah.
You have these elaborate, beautiful costumes, these god-tier kills that are so satisfying. The vehicles are another thing. You didn't get many kind of war vehicles in Inglorious. You didn't see so real much. Like battlefield type stuff there. But here you do.
Yeah.
And not only do they feel real and crunchy and heavy, like you get a sense of weight and reality from them, they are menacing.
Yeah.
You've got these chunky weapons, this startling, sort of ever-present sound design guiding you through these scenes. And so much of the film feels like chase sequences.
Yeah.
And most of them are. But even the ones that aren't have that sort of tactical nervousness to them.
Yeah.
Where you've got these vehicles, you've got high-speed chases, you've got almost these siege sequences throughout. And more than a few times I found myself thinking about Mad Max Fury Road.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm.
And I think
I was like, where are you going with this? Okay.
I think that's another major, not necessarily influence, but something I recognized.
Yeah, there's a tie.
They're playing to the same strength. Mm-hmm. Even if it's not intentional, they're kind of ringing the same bell for me.
And oh my God, Tom Hardy, his character in Mad Max is also very like silent and stern and tough and like hard to kill. Mm-hmm. Yeah, really similar there.
And they've got that hunger. What I talked about in Sisu, obviously George Miller didn't, I mean, he was so established in his career when he made Fury Road that it was almost remarkable because it felt like that kind of youthful piss and vinegar punch that it had. But Sisu has this breathless pace to it, this relentless series of events and twists and turns, this fist-pounding flow. And the movie, for being 90 minutes, it's broken up a lot.
Yeah, it's got these chapters, which is also very Tarantino-y.
Yes, exactly. It's that's perfect. It's broken into 7 chapters, and they've all got those smirking Inglorious Basterds style, bright yellow title cards. And each of them, I mean, they're maybe 15 minutes.
Yeah, they're
because you've got to fit them all in.
Yeah.
So it moves so quick.
Yeah.
And it has so much to show you. It's not like they have to stay in a static location for 15 minutes because they can't afford anything else. So much happens during every chapter. It feels like 3 hours of spectacle and excitement and energy, but cranked down to 90 minutes.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if I fully agree with that because I feel like the pacing, the action, like there's a lot that's going on, but it doesn't feel like it's like boom, 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 action scene, action scene. There's a lot of meditation and like mental, like there's a lot of mental activity as well as physical activity.
I meant that they use the space fully. They're kind of climbing up the walls of any set that they linger in. It's not like Reservoir Dogs where they just kind of have to be in different corners of the same warehouse. It's not that. It's more the climbing up the walls and really stretching all the possibilities of each location.
I just mean that I was like impressed with the fact that it moves quickly and there's a lot of action, but there's also like plenty of time for things to really develop and what's the word? Marinate. You know?
And you get that sense of focus and the marinating thing because it has such a tight focus on one character.
Yeah, right.
The Inglorious Basterds comparison sort of falls down here because that is such a sweeping historical epic.
Yeah, and there's so many characters.
With so many, I mean, full storylines and movies in there.
Yeah.
That like, you could cut into like 3 movies.
Yeah, there are like 5 main characters in that movie alone, not to mention all the other side characters.
Right. And if you've seen Inglorious Basterds, imagine if that movie just followed Aldo Raine. Just Brad Pitt's character.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't know which one that is. Okay,
that's sort of what this is. But with that like singular focus, which gets you more invested, gets you more tense.
Yeah.
You have the Mach speed of Mad Max Fury Road. You have the explosions of violence like John Wick, and you have that strict narrative focus, resolution, and genre refresh of the first Deadpool. The thesis of this idea is scrappiness. I think that's a quality that all of these movies have, that real push to prove themselves and show you something new constantly. You sense the excitement of the filmmaker through every shot here.
Yeah.
And I want to wrap up by returning to that idea of scrappiness, because I think the last point we have to make here is that this movie never looks scrappy for 1 second.
No, it's beautiful.
It's gorgeous.
It's really well done.
I have to mention the exquisiteness of the dirt in this movie.
So much dirt.
On people's faces, beards, hair, outfits, vehicles. There's such a crowd-pleasing, gloopy blood. The explosions are so raucous and fun. The blood has so much energy. If you've ever read Invincible, the comic, Ryan Otley draws blood and explosions and people getting ripped apart. He just draws blood splatter so well in such a kinetic, exciting way. This is the first time in any medium I looked at the screen, I was like, that looks like Ryan Otley.
Yeah,
that looks like his blood.
Yeah.
And the Invincible is so good because it has that energy.
Yeah, but it's like this wasn't as, like, again, like to do the Tarantino comparison, like the end of of Django is like absurd, like to the point of absurdity.
Sure.
There's so much blood and it works in the movie and I love it and it's satisfying because it's, you're killing the slave owners, but instead this is like it's much more grounded, but it's still very like fun and bold and it's quite bloody, but it has this a bit more of a grounded character to it, which I think works for the setting that the movie is in. Like it's a wonderful balance of style and I don't know what the other word to describe that is. Groundedness,
gravity,
gravity. Exactly.
It has that John Wick thing. This is why it's the synthesis of these possible influences, because John Wick feels so incredibly grounded and somber as a character that it anchors those eruptions of violence. I feel the same thing here, where the movie is very focused and simple. But it also
very
has
simple, but like in a wonderful way.
Yeah, and even the CGI, which I'm not going to spoil anything major, but this movie punches way above its weight with CGI. I couldn't believe the stuff they were doing in the last half hour.
Oh, yeah.
I could not believe that was in the budget.
It's really impressive, yeah.
It looks so much better than like the American CGI I've seen in the last few years, which has for some reason I mean, I know it's because you don't pay people well, but
yeah, that's why. Yeah.
It has been nosediving.
Yeah.
I mean, look at Shelob, look at Chamber of Secrets, and then look at like the last 3 years of Marvel stuff.
Yeah.
Something happened here. Sisu has incredible CGI. It never ever looks scrappy, but it has that scrappy energy.
The energy. Mm-hmm.
It's got some of the best action, the best revenge, that blood-splattered Tarantino slapstick movie magic that I've seen in years. This is the stuff I love and rewatch.
Yeah,
and I think that's key to this genre, is the idea of a movie being a great action movie, something like Die Hard even. And this is not really like Die Hard, but it falls on the same shelf. Because a great action movie you want to be wildly rewatchable and funny and consistent.
And you want to really be rooting for the main character.
Yes.
You know?
And I think John Wick almost ages better as an action comedy than something like Die Hard, because when you watch a movie a number of times, you learn most of the lines, especially the funny, the memorable, the quippy ones.
Yeah.
And maybe they can start to lose their charm or their power over, you know, the laugh sort of fades.
Yeah.
But with John Wick, you laugh every time because
it's got like 3 lines.
It's the action. It's so visceral. You're laughing at the headshots or whatever. And here it's funny because he's throwing a landmine at a Nazi. Like, that'll be funny every time you see it. So it is built sort of bulletproof.
Sure.
And back to that scrappiness, if you compare the budgets of these movies that I've listed here, John Wick 1 was at roughly $25 million. I'm doing averages for a lot of these.
Okay.
John Wick, $25 million. The first Deadpool, $58 million. Inglorious Basterds, $70 million.
Yeah.
Mad Max Fury Road, roughly $150 million.
Oh, gosh.
And I'm calling Sisu a ruthless, devious, adrenaline-pumping, modern classic for the genre.
Yeah.
The budget for Sisu was $6 million.
Oh, my God.
What they pull off here, at any budget...
How did they do that?
This movie at any budget would be fantastic.
Yeah, sure.
This movie at this budget, that's why I'm calling it a small miracle.
That's crazy. Wow.
It's just, I was buzzing. Watching this thing, I was buzzing out of the theater.
It's really beautifully
so
done.
much fun.
Yeah. And then again, it's such a simple concept.
Yeah.
And it could be so boring, but it's the way that they really lean into this Finnish concept of Sisu, and I'm not going to spoil anything, but it's not just it's a revenge story. It's like this guy is like there's almost a supernatural element to this, but it's not even that. It's just stylized
in the same way John Wick has the Baba Yaga thing.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah, and it's just and they do some unique things with this like simple and many times repeated concept, but they do some things that are unique and different. And like the way that they treat our main character, and also just what's more fun than watching Nazis get killed?
It's so good.
Why is it so fun to watch that?
I love preparing for these episodes, all of them. I love doing the ones that are long theories. We have some of those coming out in the next few weeks where I develop this whole weird thing in my head and I need to get it out or I'm going to die.
Get ready.
I love the theory episodes, and I love theories when we talk about books and chapters.
Yeah,
But these like glowing recommendation ones where we're trying to get the word out for a work of art that moved us, that is just amazing and exciting and new. I might love these more.
Yeah. And I like that you said that it moved us. It wasn't just this was a really fun action movie.
Yeah.
Like it was emotionally gripping. It's it's a good story and you are emotionally invested the whole way through.
It's just killer.
So yeah, literally. Yeah. No, it was a lot of fun. I'm trying to make sure there's nothing else I want to share about the movie without spoiling anything.
I mean, just go in knowing a lot of Nazis are going to die.
Yeah,
that's all you need to know.
That's kind of all you need to know.
The rest of it unfolds really organically.
It does, yeah. And we'd only seen like one trailer and we were like, that looks great. And we were just excited. I think we saw it ahead of John Wick, actually. I think that's when we saw this trailer.
Yeah.
But yeah, this was a lot of fun.
We've been doing a lot of these kind of recommendations lately. We've been doing a lot of these bonus episodes. We are Second Breakfast Pod on all of the social media platforms that we respect and value. And on Substack, you can get all of our bonus episodes, including a lot of our discussions of recent movies.
Like this. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
This one's free, but we have other ones that are similar to this.
And we will be back on Friday to discuss the next chapter of the Witcher saga. We're going through that whole series chapter by chapter. It's a lot of fun.
Almost done with the penultimate book in the main series. So
go check out Sisu.
Yeah.
Independent, international, awesome action. It's so good.
And
it's
let us
so
know
funny.
what you thought of it too.
And yes, there's a dog.
There is a dog, and it's all okay. The dog is good. All right.
Bye.
Bye.